Business Solutions.
Welcome to this week's episode of Business Solutions, where we provide solutions on formed lifestyles. My name is Kingsley Oluoko, and today we are joined by an incredible member of an organization known as Jopecotra, a community-based organization that offers a holistic approach on empowerment and peer counseling among people in the business sector, name it all, and across different spheres in our today's society. So I will let him introduce himself, let us know why this type of trade and why his ambitions in seeing organizations and people per se grow up holistically. Welcome so much, sir, to this week's episode of Business Solutions. Maybe you could just introduce yourself, say who you are, and give a brief introduction of why you're here.
Thank you so much, Paul and Kings, for having me. And it's a privilege to just come and share what we do out there. There are a couple of things that go on that sometimes never get to reach the public.
Yes. And
therefore being here is a privilege to be able to share that. I'm Joseph Oluoko. I work for Jopecotra, and I'm a family man. I'm married to one Diana Lynn, and I'm a father of a girl, married, Priscilla Lina, married to Armstrong Boyer, and I'm a grandfather of Ayana, and so I'm Mzee. So I'm very privileged to have all those titles.
Yes.
At Jopecotra, I'm the team leader. People use different titles in organizations, some CEO, some group CEO, but at our place we keep it simple. I'm a team leader because I lead, it's a lead among equals. So we work together with them in that respect. Yeah.
Welcome to this week's episode of Business Solutions. We are focused on amplifying the solutions that organizations create and offer to people from all walks of life. And coming to Jopecotra with a niche industry, or rather a niche space in this market, what are some of the gaps that you intend to fill, and what are you addressing on a day-to-day basis?
I think it's good to give a background where we came from. We are a 23-year-old organization.
Wow.
And over those years, our target group has been young people. And we've been there with them in small and larger way. We've worked with primary school kids, we've worked with high school kids, and we've worked with universities. Primary school kids, basically, we just reach them to create awareness. When HIV/AIDS was HIV/AIDS in Kenya, and we were just reaching them out to enable them that they may not be able to get indulged. And our area of focus was actually to teach them abstinence, sexual abstinence. That was what our debate around, just how they can take care of themselves and those kind of things. We then worked with high schools. And high schools was a level where now you can debate.
Yeah.
It's not just passing information. They sit down with you and they ask you those hard queries, and you are able to also help them think through issues, not forcing their throat, but help them think through, debate over issues, why sometimes when you tell them to abstain is a challenge. Talk about all these sexual challenges that teenagers go through and discuss them with a view to enable them make sober decision. And that was our main focus with the high schoolers, which we still do. We worked then with the universities, and these are older guys whose girlfriends can go to their rooms and who, of course, can be able to make certain decisions in the absence of the teachers and the parents. And so we were invited by the Christian Union, Joint Christian Union Committee for University of Nairobi, to discuss these issues, because people felt that it needed to be discussed because there were all these dodgy situations that people were in, the compromising situations, and sometimes victimizations were there. When you get in a Christian sector, if a lady gets pregnant, is a member of our executive committee and gets pregnant with a member of the executive committee. So those were issues what happened. And because we knew we were dealing with human beings, we didn't want to go the victimization way. We just said these are issues. As young people would put it casually, life happens. So when life happens, do we throw away the entire life? Of course, we have to look at modalities of being able to discuss them and be able to accommodate again and help. And so that was one of the things that we did with the University of Nairobi, of course, touching also on the aspect of of HIV/AIDS and those kind of effects. Because the generation that time, most of the younger people that were in their 18s, 20s were actually some of them people who were born to parents that were living with HIV/AIDS, and there was a lot of victimization. So the fear was both sides. Maybe the kids that were born to these parents were also living with AIDS, and therefore if he dates your daughter or your son, a possibility of replication was a possibility. So how do we do it? Then the issue was teach people to have a good standing as Christians, but also have a good standing as human beings, because that was very, very important for us.
And coming at a time almost approaching your silver jubilee, I mean, you've seen lives being transformed on a daily basis, and I think this sets the base of why you do this on a different on a day-to-day basis. And I'll just wish to understand your organizational strategy and the impact that you wish to create, even as you continue and expanding the impact among the communities. What are you likely to see now that some organizations like you are still always coming up? We also have government efforts, we have civil society efforts also always coming up and drumming up support. But as an individual, as Jopecotra, what are you trying to see and expanding the community reach to on offering the services?
I would like to really appreciate the many institutions that have partnered with us over years. Some are financial institutions, because I didn't get their permissions, I will not mention the names. But if you look at our profile online, you'll find a number of organizations that we have acknowledged that have worked with us. Financial institutions, energy institutions, and all those kind of institutions. But above all, Ministry of Education, who have done us good to give us authority to work with students and communities around students. And so we've realized that when you meet a young person, or now an older person, telling you, I'm glad you came to our school, and you don't remember them. I think one day I was walking in a church compound where I go to a church called Sitam in Buruburu, and one day a lady walked to me, and she was a head usher. So she tells me, do you remember me? I said, no. So she started laughing. How can you forget me? And then she just told me, you came to us as executives of University of Nairobi, and I was part of that team. That time there's a lady called Professor Miriam Were, who was our chief guest in that conference, and it was very interesting to just see somebody saying, it's good you talked with us, we are still keeping going. And that's challenging. That takes you many kilometers of your life. You feel really, if those 15-20 years ago somebody can still remember that your team spoke to them, it's very, very encouraging.
And you've mentioned the supports that come along your way, financing. How does the government now, the authority that it gives you to work to schools, how does it help you to continue working and improving the lives of these young ones?
One of the challenges that I would say that comes our way is what we call financial capacity. You'd want to do more and do much. You'd want to ensure that you expand what you're doing to reach more people. But the challenge is always, it's not for free. People think when you do these things for free, because you also have to survive. When I was coming here to use a vehicle, I'm dressed, I have to buy a shirt, and the team must survive. And so that's a challenge that we've had with our partnership with Ministry of Education. The gesture is great. When schools were able to give a little bit of token to institutions that go to work with them, we received a bit of that. Now that was cut off with the Magoa days, but we still have authority with them to be able to work and reach out to schools and be able to. So what happens in terms of what we do is continuous appealing for financial support, and sometimes in kind, to be able to reach out to the institutions that we go to. And people have been very gracious. As I've mentioned, that a couple of corporates have come in, a couple of para churches, a couple of churches also, and we appreciate what they do. It's not sufficient, but it keeps us going.
I know. And hearing from how you articulate issues, then 23 years you must have stayed on course on what you believed in and the lessons that you wish to impact these young ones. Then how are you able to approach these societal issues in our day-to-day operations in Jopecotra?
With our operations and reaching out to society, sometimes you hang on people's boots. If Kingsley is doing something and they invite me, we tag along with them and we go and do something. Remember, there's a time we went down to the famous Oma Bay now, and we were there's a organization called Net Ministry. They were reaching out with medical work and etc. And so we hanged along them, and we were able to reach out to close to 60-70 young people, primary school. Sometimes you bump into them in town here. Now some of them are working in Nairobi. And so sometimes it's a partnership that is in kind. People say, we are going, we can give you 3 slots in our bus, and we go together and the work is done. Sometimes it's not about the gain you get, but it's how to reach out to the people that you're going to reach out. So that's one way we've done. The other way is approach the religious institutions. They've been very kind. I can mention a couple of them. NCCK was very, very supportive to us during post-election violence. By the way, we did a lot of work reaching out, the reconciliation piece. CITAM has been very, very close to us. Nairobi Baptist across here, Parklands Baptist, Pastor Ambrose. They've been very, very supportive. I have a Christian background because by training I'm actually a clergy, and so I ran quickly to my colleagues who can listen to me quickly, and so we've had those kind of support during the Corona situation. Nairobi Chapel did a lot of work with us in terms of supporting us to be able to support people, to the extent that we've been supporting the pastors who are starving, and a lot of that happened. So we have a lot of goodwill among institutions that have built trust with us, that their 1 shilling will not get lost without doing what it was intended for.
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
That is really brilliant on pegging your mission on those who are already also in the mission. It helps you drive the ambition very smoothly. And I will wish to understand that these people who you don't work alone, you work with a team, you are a team leader, then how are you able to train those who are on board with you, or even to places where you go, so that when you leave, your imprints are still felt? Because I understand you train facilitators, you train trainers to teach and how to instill these values to young people. How is that possible?
Jopecotra is a very interesting institution. We are managed by a couple of professionals. Our history is that when this began was all about reaching out to students and young people in the estate. Actually, it was born in Buruburu. And this was because being believers in that estate, secular people used to do disco in the court. And I don't know the current presiding bishop of Sitam can remember, because we were there when we started all this. And we said we cannot allow guys just to be running around with the kids with very, very bad message. We can do something also. So that's how some of us picked it up and said we'll go on with it. So generally it was just little talks here and there before even registration was done. So we are maybe older than 22, 23 years old. So then we moved on and said we can formalize this thing. So the medical bit came, and that medical bit is what actually was our key thing that we did for many, many years. So we moved on, but as usual, a good progressive organization would always have to come with phases of growth.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of emerging things. When AIDS was the real thing, it served its time. It's still there with us, but it's not the core thing, because COVID came in and almost killed us, all of us. True. And there have been many other issues that have come that have almost killed us. So we've emerged over years. So the trainings we do, if you go to a school, like for example, when there was post-election violence in Kenya, there was the Raila Kibaki thing. We were involved in peace initiative with the schools, because that's our place. But we also worked with churches, because churches have schools and institutions, religious institutions, other religious institutions. And so we worked with them in reaching out, and because you have to evolve with issues that are affecting the population.
Society,
so that we keep going. So some of those programs were very well supported, I must confess. They were very, very well supported. I remember that peace initiative, the churches like Baptist, churches like Sitam took it very seriously, to the extent that reaching out to the communities in Kibera, reaching out to student population, and we are there, the ones hosting them in terms of that kind of thing. So we've been there in terms of reaching out. So emerging issues that are coming along, we keep on having to learn afresh. But now we have a board. That board is an advisory board of very, very good professional people. and they keep on keeping us on track as people day-to-day running. They know I'm here and they're listening. And if I say something that is not canonical, like the theologians would say, ile ulisema ilikuwa yako, sio yetu. So we have an advisory board that keeps us on focus and keeps us checking on what is the real need that we now need to give attention, and checking that is it something that could attract support, because those are key things when you're doing any program. Sometimes you may have good program, but it's not attracting support. So we're in that situation as we continue to evolve.
And you've mentioned the advisory board makes you keep focus on the current issues affecting the society. One of the issues that are really arising is the political space, where is leading to mental health issues among the people, economic challenges, unemployment among the youth, or even issues to do with westernization, including the LGBTQ. Then how does Jopecotra able to address that kind of issues with as they prevail in these times?
We've not had much involving some of those, the Rainbow Group, as they're called out there with the young people. But the economical side of it, we've been involved with the young people in a number of things. And currently what we're actually doing as Jopecotra is the environmental issues. There's a lot of issues with the environmental, and it's been one-sided. You know, when you hear the PSS go there on helicopters, that's what we see as environmental mitigation. But there's a lot of little small work that's being done by individuals that are never actually recognized. They're not in newspaper, they don't even sit at PAL radio, but they're doing a lot of good work. And we are involved in that, and specifically we're involved in that with special needs people. Currently we have a new partnership with the Ministry of Education to reach out to all our schools of disability across the country.
Wow. And
that's one area that now is keeping us running. We are not sleeping. And we actually, when I say we're not sleeping in reality, because yesterday, I don't know when I slept, we were trying to work on some proposals. So we are trying to ensure that these schools are reached. Special needs people, normally they do not become the main agenda when things are discussed.
They're left.
Yeah, they are left.
Be decided upon.
Watakuja, come on.
We will factor them. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll factor them. So that even the 5% that we talk about is neither there or there, because when you look at institutional employment, I don't think whether I'm in PAL, they'll kick me out. Even within PAL, how many people do you have that are with disability?
A very good question.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things we talk about when you talk of even churches who hire pastors. How many pastors do they have who have disability? When you talk about all kinds of organizations, are we doing good? So when you talk about environmental space, also it's they're not doing good. So our challenge is that we've decided to take up that as a challenge, and we are grateful forever to Dr. Belio Kipsang, who looked at us and approved us to be the one to run with that in special schools. He's now in a different ministry, but he is very, very kind, and he gave us authority to work with these people. He gave us the top notch of ministry. I can call from here, and somebody will pick my phone, and if it's me, they'll say, we can help. So we are saving in terms of mobilization and reaching out because of his letter, and we are forever grateful to him. So that is one of the things we're doing now in environmental focus, and that environmental focus and entrepreneurial approach, because this is a business sector. We're looking at environment as a business. There are people that are very, very, very busy along Ngong Road here, where you are, doing tree seedlings. It's a business. How many of them have disability? None. Maybe one or two. I don't know. I've not done proper survey, so I may not say none. But when you look at it, most of them are what we would call able-bodied people doing it. But some of these things, the deaf community, for example, are able to sit because they have all the capacity except hearing. They can be able to sit and do those jobs. People on wheelchairs can sit and be able to just do those soil seedlings, and that can get an opportunity. So what we are looking at is in these institutions, we want to come up, and our agreement with the Ministry of Education was to do fruit trees. And the fruit trees, we are looking at it in a short, long, and mid-term kind of thing situation. We're saying if you plant a tree, even if it's a crossbreed tree, it will take you close to 3-4 years for you to harvest anything.
Yeah.
But in between there, you can put purpose, which is a 1-year thing, and you begin to eat to encourage them. And in between there, you can put vegetables. So it becomes an agroforestry. You benefit from that. The school eats, and they cannot finish all of it. They can sell some. So that's the kind of a business approach that we're coming with in learning institutions. Some of the schools have big land, and you get 10 acres doing nothing, 4 acres doing nothing, and it's a disability school. So we are trying to ensure that we go through with them and just do that kind of things, and that will be able to elevate
And
them.
while you were mentioning some of the interventions or even the mandates given, you've mentioned government playing a big key role.
Yes.
But also companies have come up with the corporate social responsibility arm of businesses. And I think this is a clarion call really that you can make to businesses that wish to, enroll corporate social responsibilities in their company. Then how can they partner with you to enforce such kind of measures that you're having? You've mentioned about the inclusivity with the disability. You've talked about environmental upscaling on bare land and all that. Then here is an opportunity. Then you can just present it to us.
Yes, there are a couple of corporates that are involved in this environmental thing. I want to say this, and maybe the MDs may not know. Some of the people they've put in those positions are doing them harm better than good. Because when you approach a person who does not want to listen to what you're doing, they have an agenda that is different from that. Tree planting is business. And so if I'm buying a seedling at 10 bob, it's money. So I can cut deals. So one of the challenges that is hitting most of these corporates, and I'll not mention names, even by trying to go for carbon trade, because I'm in the business so here, they are failing because of the people they have hired. If I were them, I would evaluate the people I've put in position, because that's the failure. These 15 billion trees would be far now, but the people we have there are failing them. Example on site is that you go to some of these schools, like disability schools, and you find a bank has gone there to plant trees. They'll do camera, the ones for camera, 3-4 trees, then they drive away. And they leave kids who are not even able to dig holes to plant these trees. So you brought 500, you planted 100, you left 400 rotting. So it's a waste. And the Kefris are not very happy right now with some of these people, because we are losing a lot of seedlings. And developing one seedling is not an easy thing scientifically. So even Kefri is not very happy, and we are mandated by Kefri. We are working together with Kefri on technical advice and technical support, and we are grateful again. That's another government agency we are working with. They are offering us all kinds of technical support. So when we have money, or in terms of technical support, we'll not spend it. We'll put it on planting and managing post-planting. So I think the corporates that are keen on environmental issues, they need to re-engineer their approach of how they want to do it, especially when it comes to disability, because disability is expensive. When you're dealing with a person, for example, if I'm planting a tree with a 20 visually challenged person, 20 blind people, if I may use plain word, how many people do I need to help them? I need 20 people to support them. Extra hands. If I'm dealing with a mental challenged person, because some of the schools we have, like I have a school in Kwale called Livio, they're waiting for us. It's a purely mental school. If I go there, these kids will be planting trees symbolically. Now, if you're sponsoring me and I told you I'm going to that school, I need more than just telling me take 100 seedlings and go there. You'll not have planted those trees. I need more than beyond that. Then now I need the post-planting. And we know the current weather. Today we have rain. Tomorrow there's no rain. Some of these people, they take the seedlings, 500, 1,000 seedlings. No plan for watering them. They'll die. So you cannot evaluate them and say they planted how many. So some of those are the business itches that we have. So we are proposing to them that they think beyond just giving seedlings. They think about the success of the trees being planted. They think about the success that the trees will bring to those schools in terms of feeding and in terms of future business. So now you're investing, but in future, you may not need to give that school a grant, because they can partner with an hotel to buy their fruits and they can make money out of that. That's where we are going to as Jopecotra.
that's a clear elaboration that you've made there. And even as we near to wrap up this segment, I know you've mentioned that you've cut across several counties. You've just mentioned Kwale. When we began, you mentioned Homa Bay. I believe there's one county or even extra borders that you'll wish to have a footprint on. So what is the challenge that is making you not go further north or deep south, west or east?
We have a couple of invitations, and we are open because the schools, yes, we have the mandate for Ministry of Education, but does the school need us? So we have committed that when a school invites us, we put the letter on the table. A donor may say, I don't want to sponsor anybody in Nairobi, but I want to sponsor somebody in Kwale.
Yes.
And so that project goes to Kwale. So we're very genuine about it, and my board is very, very categorical that if somebody says, hii pesa tupeleke Mombasa, we have to look for school around Mombasa, because Mombasa is Kenya. Pwani ni Kenya. So that's where we are. So we are we are open because our mandate with the Ministry of Education is 47 counties. So where the funding is available to, then we go there. But sometimes there are partners we talk to, and we suggest to them if they are willing. We are able to work with them. But a quick one, because I know your time is also running up. Which would want to do an appeal for? One of the places that there's a lot of opportunity is in the engineering sector, and I know this will surprise you. All these road contractors that you see working around Kenya, they have a component of environmental awareness, environmental sensitization, environmental rehabilitation. When you see a road being hacked here, that's a health hazard. That's an environmental issue. When you see people cut trees as they build road and extend, that's an environmental issue. So that legally is a requirement that they're supposed to meet, and there's a lot of budget on that. Where that money goes, we don't know, because that's money that can actually be able to help some of these special needs schools if those engineers would accept, because they're good figures that if you dedicate could be able to help and that kind of thing. So we also would want to appeal to some of these engineering institutions that we are open to work with them, to work to help them fulfill their mandate of environmental preservation. We are very, very open on that.
I hear you. And that is so elaborate. You keep on finding gaps, and I believe your Jopecotra cuts across different spheres. I mean, you've talked about schools, you just mentioned engineering, you will even mention deep in the waters where there are gaps, and we continue finding these gaps on our day-to-day basis. Maybe I'll just give an opportunity to make a clarion call to those who will wish to have you on board, to talk to the people, to sensitize those dealing with the special needs and even environment, and even the other more maybe projects that you're having in Jopecotra.
For the next few years, we are on environment, and we are saying Vision 2032. That's the timeline that the government has put, and we want to work with them on that. And our appeal is that we give special needs institutions an opportunity to also participate on environment. You know, environmental issues do not discriminate. If trees are dry in Kenya, they are dry for everybody. If the weather is dry, it's dry for everybody. And so environmental issues do not discriminate. So is disability. Today, me and you, we are very okay. But tomorrow, we don't know. Something can happen, and God forbid, that would make you disabled. I have a friend of mine, we talk with him. We were just talking on Sunday and chatting. He was good looking like you and I today. Unfortunately, me, I have squinty eyes, you don't. This guy just had a problem and lost his sight like that. Just like that. And rehabilitation was tried, and he just lost them like that. So he was telling me on Sunday, Oluoko, this disability, you cannot overtake it. So today, we are okay, we are thinking, these disability guys are messing up. Tomorrow it's you in that space. And tomorrow it will be you desiring that this thing be done for you. I appeal that those who are in positions to make decisions, to look at the empowerment of special needs people, we don't want to give them gifts. We want to make them productive. That's our desire as Jopecotra, so that if they have their farm there, that farm will keep them busy. If they're not able to do, whoever person that will be there will know that I'm working together with these people. because not all disability people are not able to do anything. And so that's the challenge, and that's the appeal I would like to make to all corporates and all the institutions that can be able to support of goodwill.
Where do we find you?
You find us at info@jopecotra.org. And we have a website, www.jopecotra.org. Or you could, it's Jopecotra, Instagram, it's Jopecotra, Facebook, it's JS Oluoko at jopecotra.org. That's us.
There you have it, from Pastor Joseph Oluoko, the team lead from Jopecotra, a community-based organization that promotes holistic empowerment of the people of Kenya. You've heard it from environment, you've gone to the special needs people. He was talking about the needs that need to be met on a day-to-day basis. Peer counseling is also mentioning about the issues that affect the young people from the low level in primary. He went to high school and even settled his base at the universities. You cannot make this stuff up. Here you have it from Jopecotra's team lead, Joseph Oluoko. This has been this week's episode of Business Solutions, where we provide solutions on formed lifestyles. My name is Kingsley Oluoko. Until next time.